Hello, and welcome to the Emotional Endurance Movement, where we talk about all of life's lemons and how we are coping with them. I am Lori Sharp Page, and I'm here with my co host, Crimson McDonald. Hello.
Howdy.
I got a question. What's a time you kept showing up like everything was fine, but underneath you were barely holding it together?
Honestly, like every day. I think if I like scale it to when the hardest was when my dad was sick and I was like dealing with my dad's health and I was trying to run an organization and I had to keep showing up and I
Yeah.
had to keep going and I was unpacking a lot of heavy stuff. And yeah, and it was definitely not a thriving. It was a push through surviving moment in my life for sure.
Yeah, and I think we all have those, and we often judge ourselves for having them, but I think they come with the territory, Like, there are going to be griefs and hard things, maybe even traumatic things, very challenging things, things that don't make sense or that we don't want. And I do believe that caregiving is it's one of the hardest things. We don't give a lot of weight to it, but it's really a life-changing thing when you go through really having to caretake someone that's sick like that. At least
Well,
it has been in
and
my experience.
caretaking your abuser is like a whole level. And I think there's
Other,
a lot of Gen X
yeah.
and millennials that are older millennials that are facing that right now. How do you have the emotional endurance and how do you get through the day to day of trying to be compassionate and show a level of care for someone that couldn't do it for you. It was extremely hard, and it was something that like you also aren't going to go to a meeting and be like, guys, I'm just like barely hanging on to a thread because my abusive father's dying and I don't know how to process it. And so I think, yeah, that was probably one of the times that like it was pure survival mode.
Well, I want to ask you another question, but before I do, I just want to say it was kind of a sobering experience to hear you say that caring for your abuser and how many people are in that boat because I realized I'm in that boat. I'm in that boat currently, and while there's a lot of good things about my situation, it is hard to continue to experience the emotional and verbal abuse that I experienced in childhood into adulthood when I'm trying to care for this person and help them, live their best end of life. And I think it's like you can see it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to talk about. It's uncomfortable. So I appreciate you naming that because I had not thought about that in my own journey, and that is very, very present. And I guess I'm curious about, you know, looking back on that period of survival, keeping in mind that it's not wrong that you experienced it. It's kind of just the dynamic nature of life that puts us in these challenging situations. Is there anything that you would have done differently or approached differently? Or is this a situation where like you survived and that was the work of it, you know?
I mean, I think it was. I mean, of course, I mean, caretaking for your abuser, and I regret a lot of things that happened in that moment, but I think I actually dealt with it like a rock star. I mean, in hindsight, it did dysregulate me. It was lots of hard days, and my family kind of went through it with me because it was extremely triggering. I mean, I don't want to be the
Yeah.
millennial snowflake and use that word, but our parents do have like a button on us, as we do them.
Nobody else
Um,
has.
yeah, that nobody else has that makes it such a unique challenge. I've been in rooms with governors and I've been in rooms with important people, and I always felt regulated and capable of challenging feedback and but man, our parents have something special on us that bring out the best and the worst in us. And it was hard, but I will say that I think that this, when it comes to like coping skills and what got me through it, and this is a really hard one because I think this addresses such. I mean, we could do a whole month, a whole webinar. Like this to be continued, But I think that I was very lucky to have the network and the support group in place. I had plenty of people I could send a text to, like, I hate this person and I have to do this. And I had judgment free zone. I mean, his only friend came in and kind of saved the day on a lot of things.
Yeah.
I have a good friend that's an attorney that navigated all of the stuff that needed to be navigated. I had networks with people that could deal with the house. I mean, like, I genuinely, like, I don't know how we would have gotten through those 2 years without. It was the community, it was the network I built, it was the people, and it was such an important lesson coming out of COVID and isolation. And like we've discussed, like, there was something comforting not having to deal with other people, like something
Yeah.
so nice about not having to manage that part of your life of like being social. But I think coming out of COVID and being so resistant to getting back into the throes of like social engagement, it was a reinforcer of like, if you do it right and you put the effort in, maybe people are never useful in the right sense of it and how I'm saying it. But I mean, I really don't know, had I not had the people in place at the time that they were in place, the time, like, I don't know how I would have gotten through it. So I think that is something that's underrated, but I think that's also part of why we have so many people struggling to cope, because when you're lonely and you're in a dark place,
Yeah.
it's hard. Like, a
Yeah.
stupid text message from a friend that was just like, "What did the asshole say to you today?"
Yeah.
It changed the game in a lot of ways. And so having vulnerable connections with people, and even just transactional connections with people that you trust, was
Yeah.
definitely how I survived that.
Yeah, for sure. I I wonder what going through this experience, surviving this experience, what it gave you, what it brought you.
Appreciation for community. Finally learning how
Yeah.
to ask for help. I mean, I am notoriously the person you come to when you need something, and notoriously the person that will not come to you when I need you. And I think that was the first point in life where, like, it wasn't optional anymore. And it was a destructive behavior to not ask for help.
Yeah.
And so I think recognizing that when you do need to ask for help and not feeling the shame in it. And I think I gained a lot of perspective on just my own, like, I hate to say it, but like, unfortunately, when your abuser dies, there's a lot of peace that comes with it. I mean, once it's over and done, there's peace at the end of it.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you sharing all this with me and giving me some insight. This is an experience that I'm currently living in a couple of different ways in my life, and I don't really talk to my friends about it too much. I talk to you about it. You've always been a really good support for me, and I think that's part of like learning that that community is important,
Yeah.
right? I hadn't really thought about that intentionality you're probably putting between hearing me talk about these things. But honestly, I don't talk to my friends about it because they don't get it and they kind of judge it, and it's not really fun to talk about other people's drama. It gets old after a while. I will
I
say, if
Yes,
you're are
that's
wondering
hard.
what kind of environment I'm currently living in, it's if you watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Old Lady House is where, yeah, someone out there will get it. And I'll just say we don't have a laugh track. Oh, that
Mm.
really, really spins it out. But
But
anyway,
area for improvement, laugh track.
that's
You
true.
see like
That's
a
true.
button.
It's be like the best coping skill if I just bring my own laugh track.
Yeah.
That could really shift the tone of it should really shift the vibe very quickly.
Why not?
In fact, insert laugh track here. Okay. Well, this has been a really great conversation. Thank you so much for going deep with me and kind of giving me some insight into that. I feel that, as I said, I feel it really deeply. And I also feel grateful that I have this opportunity to learn more about myself and the people that I caretake for as a means to really further develop my own insight into some of these dynamics and how they take me down and make it harder to cope. But I do think there's something, and we're going to do a whole month specifically on emotional labor, but I do think that there are times in our life when we're asked to step up and do a lot of emotional labor, and we often don't think about what what we really need to have to be equipped to do that labor until we're burning out. And so I would ask any of our listeners who are in a situation where they feel like they're just hanging on, they're coping to survive, I would ask them to be gentle with themselves and not waste any energy beating yourself up or judging yourself. Because I said it earlier, like sometimes the work is just to survive that thing and to get through and to move through. And we can't always process or unpack as we go. Like you said, there's probably been a further deepening of unpacking post his death, right? There's certain things that we get to when we get to, and I understand that we all want it done. But part of building emotional endurance is building our tolerance to the fact that often this work, there is no finite, done, or over. It's dynamic and transient in our lives. And so let's stop wasting our energy judging it for showing up and start putting our energy towards learning how to cope with it.
Right. So you don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice.
No, those lemons are coming, whether you want them to or not.
It's raining lemons, y'all.
This is where money buys happiness. If you can throw enough money at issues, maybe it's easier. But at the end of the day, life is hard.
Doesn't take the emotional tinge out of it. May make it more convenient. But you said it a couple episodes back. You said it so well. We all have to do this work. It is not something you can buy your way out of. It is a real thing that is happening. You either attend to it or you're not. And life is much better when you attend to it, because you're not emotionally neglecting yourself. Right. It's probably the best way to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this conversation on the emotional endurance movement. I do not have any lemon jokes for you this time, and it probably is going to make you a little sour.